The Grammy nominations for 2026 are here, and like always, they're already stirring up controversy. Every year it's the same thing. A bunch of artists getting left out, and fans wondering if the Recording Academy even listens to music anymore. This year though, the loudest conversation by far is about The Weeknd. Somehow one of the biggest, most consistent artists of our time, a guy who's been running pop and R&B for over a decade, has been completely shut out of the nomination. Not a single nod, not for Album of the Year, not for Pop Vocal Album, not even for something small. Disappointing in a way that almost feels intentional, because we've been here before, we've seen this story play out already. The Grammys and The Weeknd have a history, a very messy one, and to understand how we got here, you have to go back to 2021, the year that basically broke their relationship. That was when The Weeknd dropped After Hours, one of the most successful albums of the decade. It had hits that defined that year: Blinding Lights, Save Your Tears, In Your Eyes, songs that were everywhere, dominating charts, reshaping what pop and R&B even sounded like. Even people who weren't The Weeknd fans respected how clean, creative that album was. So naturally, when Grammy season came around, everyone assumed he'd sweep or at least get a few awards, like maybe not win everything, but at least be nominated. But when the nominations dropped that year, he got absolutely nothing. 0 nominations for one of the biggest albums of the year, and understandably, it shocked everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean literally everyone. The Weeknd himself went straight to Twitter and said what a lot of people were thinking. He tweeted, "The Grammys remain corrupt. You owe me, my fans, and the industry transparency." That was the moment the relationship fell apart completely. After that, he basically boycotted the Grammys, refusing to submit his music for consideration ever again. And honestly, he had every reason to, because it didn't make sense. After Hours was too big and successful to just get ignored like that. It wasn't about losing, it was about not even being given a seat at the table. It said a lot about what the Grammys really value, and who they choose to ignore when it doesn't fit their image. After the backlash, the Recording Academy tried to save face. They made some statements about changing their process, getting rid of those secret committees that used to decide nominations behind closed doors, and promised more transparency. Basically a PR cleanup to make it look like they were learning from their mistakes. Fast forward a couple years later, The Weeknd stood by his word. He didn't submit Dawn FM either, even though it easily could have competed for multiple awards. That was his way of saying, you can't play me twice. But as time went on, and as the Academy tried to repair its image, it seemed like maybe the tension was easing a bit. Then at last year's Grammys, the CEO officially came out and gave a half-assed apology by saying his criticism was okay, and they heard his complaint or whatever. Here is the clip of that.
Criticism is okay. I heard him. I felt his conviction.
Which brings us to now. The Weeknd dropped Hurry Up tomorrow, a musically impressive but thematically one of his most mature projects yet. Everything you'd expect from him, but with new layers. Commercially, it did great too. High charting singles, critical praise, strong rollout, everything that would check the boxes for the Grammys. So when his team finally decided to submit this album for nomination after years of staying away, a lot of fans saw it as a full circle moment. Like this was supposed to be the year where he got his recognition back, a redemption arc, a peace moment, but instead, the Academy turned around and did the exact same thing again, no nominations. And that's where it starts to feel personal. Like, you can't help but question if there's something deeper here, because statistically, musically, even culturally, The Weeknd not being nominated just doesn't make sense. It's one thing to say maybe he didn't have the best album of the year, fine, that's debatable, but to act like it didn't even deserve to be in the conversation, that's something else. It makes you wonder what the Grammys are even looking for anymore. What counts as worthy? At this point though, it feels like the Grammys are addicted to controversy. Every year they find new ways to make headlines, not for celebrating music, but for ignoring it. They know that fans are going to get pissed off, that artists are going to call them out, that it's going to trend on Twitter for days. And it's almost like they enjoy that attention, like they've realized that outrage is part of the brand now. But the problem with that is that it slowly kills whatever credibility they still have left. Because if you keep ignoring the people who are actually moving culture, people are just going to stop caring altogether. And maybe that's already happening. A lot of artists don't even treat Grammys as a real measure of success anymore. The Weeknd's already made it clear that he doesn't need them. Drake said the same. Nicki Minaj has called them out. Even people like Tyler, the Creator, have spoken about how weird and outdated the categories are. So when you think about it, the Grammys being this prestigious event is kind of becoming a joke. It's losing its meaning, and situations like this are exactly why. What makes this particular snub sting more more is the emotional weight behind it. Because this wasn't just another artist getting ignored, this was a potential reconciliation. A chance for the Grammys to show that maybe they'd grown, that maybe they actually listened to the criticism, that they could recognize an artist they once wronged, but they blew it. They doubled down on the same mistake, and now it's like we're watching history repeat itself. Yeah, just with more frustration this time. Fans feel betrayed again, and the Weeknd's probably done for good now. You can't expect someone to forgive an institution that keeps proving it doesn't care about fairness or consistency. It also raises a bigger question about what these awards are even supposed to represent. Are they about art, popularity, politics, relationships? Because if it's about music, the Weeknd's work easily checks every box. But if it's about industry politics, who you're cool with, who you perform for, who you align with, then that explains a lot. It explains how the same people keep getting nominated, the same styles keep getting rewarded, and the same genuinely groundbreaking albums get ignored. It's a cycle, and it's exhausting to watch. You'd think by now the Recording Academy would have learned something from their past mistakes. You'd think that after the 2021 backlash, they'd make sure never to repeat a snub that obvious again. But here we are, another massive album, another cultural moment, another year where they completely missed the mark. And the irony is they probably think they're being objective, like maybe they didn't connect with the album or maybe it didn't fit the categories, but that's just another excuse. The truth is the Grammys still operate like an exclusive club. You can be the biggest artist in the world, but if they decide you're not one of their artists, you're not getting in. And honestly, I think most people are over it. The Grammys don't define success anymore. The Weeknd doesn't need them, and that's probably what bothers them the most. He's proven that you can dominate the world without validation from that stage. He's selling out stadiums, breaking records, and shaping pop culture in ways the Grammys couldn't even begin to measure. And that's why this snub feels less like a loss for him and more like another L for them. Still, it sucks to see because fans wanted that moment. The narrative was right there. The Weeknd comes back after years, drops a masterpiece. The Grammys finally give him his due. It would have been satisfying. It would have felt right. But instead we got silence, and that silence says everything. So yeah, the 2026 nominations are out, and once again, they've managed to remind everyone how disconnected they really are. You can fix your voting process, change your committees, make statements about fairness, but as long as you keep ignoring the obvious, nobody's buying it. The Grammys might keep pretending they're the peak of recognition, but every year they lose a little more credibility, and this was another huge step in that direction. Maybe one day they'll realize the damage they've done to themselves, but right now they just look out of touch. And the Weeknd, he doesn't need them. He's already proved that his legacy doesn't depend on a gold trophy. Still, for fans who were hoping for even a hint of recognition after everything that happened, this one hurts. It feels like the Grammys just can't help but repeat their worst decisions over and over again. Because once again, the Weeknd showed up with an album that deserved to be part of the conversation, and once again, the Grammys pretended it didn't exist. And at this point, it's not even shocking anymore. It's just sad.